Let me also use this opportunity to commend Joy FM or Joy News and Water Aid and their partners from the Ghana Water and Sanitation Project for putting together this commendable engagement. It is long overdue, and its importance cannot be overemphasized. As a nation, we have come very far, and our challenges, as many as they may be, water, sanitation, and hygiene shouldn't be part of them. But incidentally, we are still here, still trying to grapple with how to handle issues of WASH. Indeed, there have been many statistics that has been shared, some of which rather very confusing, and so some of us, we are not able to digest and understand what those statistics mean. And it is important that as we do such discussions and we plan, particularly in public policy formulation, we really understand what the numbers mean. And so I have heard and read that about 80% or 88% of Ghanaians are those that have access to basic sanitation services. But we should also bear in mind that when we are talking about access to basic services in sanitation, we are not talking only about water, we are talking about several other things, including waste management. And so the understanding and the breakdown helps us to formulate policies properly. And so I would want to attempt to do some further breakdown so that we see the nature of the discussion or the nature of the situation we find ourselves in. Indeed, access to water, which is very key and fundamental. Maslow's, as we studied in the Maslow's theory, says that there are three basic needs of man. So there is food, then there's clothing, and there's shelter. But food, clothing, and shelter has WASH as a cross-cutting factor in all. When you are looking at food, you look at WASH. So you look at clothing, you look at WASH. Then you look at shelter, you look at WASH. And so it's most critical to understand these key elements. So when we were in government, led by President Mahama, as at 2015, 2016, when we have stayed in power for 8 years, our key agenda was to, as much as possible, improve momentarily and monumentally the access to WASH facilities. And so our investments was rather significant. And I readily recall from 2012 to 2016, we had invested $1.1 billion in access to water and sanitation. And I believe that was significant. In fact, $1.1 billion in sanitation alone, waste management. And some of the projects that we invested in included the 8.4 kilometer new sewage and the repairs of the 50 kilometer old sewage that covered the areas of Achimota, Medina, University of Ghana, UPSA. In fact, the entire Achimota stretch covering North Legon up to Medina, the entire sewage system of about 50 kilometers was repaired, and some 8.4 kilometer new sewage systems were built, including some 3,000 manhole sewage repairs were done under us, and that we invested about $1.1 billion. I am not even talking about the number of water treatment plants that we built across the country. And within 4 years, we built about 9 of them. Notable amongst them is the Kumewu water plant, which we always talk about, and so on and so forth. 9 major water treatment plants. And we were very hopeful that the kind of significant gains that we have done, the kind of investments we have done, would have been continued. Again, in sanitation, for example, you know the Kole Mudo treatment plant. The Kole Mudo treatment plant, which we started, was a very key monumental, project to improve the WASH situation in the Accra and its environs, Accra metropolis and its environs. And that is an overarching project that we thought was very important for improvement in WASH. And I readily recall the 15-kilometer new sewage that we constructed from Dansoman to Accra Central. And those were all pointed to improving the wash situation. This and the investment in water was what got Ghana to move from urban water coverage from some 58.5% in 2008 to some 76% in 2016. And this, we believe, was very significant leap from 58.5 to 76%. And I believe if our friends in government had continued at the same pace, we would have completely had 100% coverage of urban water supply. But again, as we can see, our friends went to bed on the need to improve wash facilities. Then you look at rural water supply. Rural water supply. I believe this is more important for a nation like Ghana because we have majority of our people, our families and friends living in rural areas. And the conditions under which they live and the kind of water they drink is so bizarre that it's not even worth for animals. But again, we have performed so poorly in water supply. And when we assumed power in 2009, the total urban water supply coverage was around 56.5%. And we have had to invest heavily through several programs and projects to extend rural water supply. And as at the time we were leaving power, it was around 75.6% of rural water coverage. And I believe that is also a significant leap. And if our friends had continued, perhaps we would have made some significant improvement. Indeed, this was achieved because of projects like the Human Security Department that we established under National Security. And under the National Security, we were constructing these boreholes in the rural areas so that we can give them access to, quality and clean water to drink. And that is why we achieved that. Again, we have seen that our friends in government, even though they set a Ministry for Water and Sanitation, have done very, very little in this regard. And I'm sure the achievements of that ministry is there for everybody to see. We know the popular achievement from that ministry. So there is a need for us to do more. I don't know why you are laughing. I'm not talking about the $1 million under the bed. I'm talking about the real achievements. It's there for everybody to see. And I recall under sanitation, that was the time that we embarked on a major and aggressive policy to distribute within a matter of 1 year 100,000 bins for homes so that they are able to manage the waste. Because most importantly, it's not only about the production of the waste and the disposal of the waste, but it is about the management of the processes, from where you gather the waste to the movement of the waste to the disposal of the waste. And so there is a need for an integrated management of waste in WASH. And so you can't look at one side and leave the other. So whilst you look at the generation of the waste in the homes, you must look at how you can collect the waste efficiently. And that has been one of the biggest problems. So you go to my area in Russia, Sukura, and you see that when we generate the waste, the way we dispose the waste in front of the house, we pour it there and put some fire in there and burn it because there are no bins to collect them. And so we must put together systems to deal with that. And that was what we did under President Mahama. So we didn't only distribute the bins, we were able to improve the collection of the waste, and we put together the Accra compost plant, which we started construction under President Mahama. And the Accra compost and recycling plant was meant to recycle the waste that was being produced and disposed. And so we believe this model, which is an integrated management system for sanitation and waste, both solid, electronic, and liquid waste, it's very key and it's fundamental to our success in achieving accessible and improved WASH situation in Ghana. You are aware we launched our youth manifesto yesterday. And yesterday, because it is only for the youth, we didn't talk about WASH. But what we have done as our policies and our social democratic party is that all our manifestos from 2012 till now, we have a central column for WASH. And we are not going to deviate from that. This time around, We have a section that is fully dedicated with concrete, workable, practical solutions to deal with the issue of WASH. And we believe that at the rate we were able to achieve 4 years under President Mahama, if we are able to get the nod from the people of Ghana, which we are very confident about, that the people are going to give us the mandate to lead this country from next year, we would be able to accelerate and improve the achievements that our friends have abandoned over the period and be able to achieve the ultimate of 100% access to quality and potable water for urban areas and rural areas, and improve sanitation for all, and most importantly, protect our environment. And lastly, before I sit down, Ben, I know you are giving me the time. Lastly, before I sit down, we will not be able to succeed in all the gains that we would make in WASH if we don't look at the issue of climate change. And that is why I feel deeply worried and rather backward that in 21st century 2024, a country that is growing at this rate would allow our forest reserves to become a mining hub where politicians and small-scale miners and galamseyers have just jumped into our forest reserves and they are depleting it. We are refusing to appreciate the effect of climate change on WASH because it's a reverse relationship. Climate change affects WASH in every single way that you can look at it, from water to the sanitation itself, to the hygiene. Climate change has impact on it. And good practices in WASH also impacts on climate change, because if we are able to produce the right water sources or protect the right water sources, and we are managing the cycling of water very, very well, we would also be protecting the environment. And so, as a country, and as a party, what we are looking at is a more integrated system for WASH, where WASH depends on climate change, but climate change, most importantly, is managed in a way that it can be sustainable for water, sanitation, and hygiene. And so on this note, we'll thank you once again for affording us this opportunity. We have engaged Water Aid, and we have engaged a number of civil society organizations that are into WASH. Some few months ago, we engaged the Natural Resource Governance Institute, and we also extensively discussed WASH. And so you can be assured, Joy FM, Water Aid, and all the stakeholders in WASH, that for we, the NDC, WASH is number one, and is very critical to the survival of the ordinary Ghanaian, and so we are not underestimating it at all in our preparation for an effective public policy that is responsive to the needs of the people. Thank you very much.